The difference between success and staying stuck isn't talent or luck. It's the tiny, powerful habits that you don't even realize are holding you back. So if you're stuck in cycles of self-doubt or procrastination, or just feel like you're kind of spinning your wheels, we're going to clear the path to moving through that today. So I'm breaking down 5 powerful habits that will change how you approach success starting right now. So the very first habit, we're going to dive right in here, is stop using absolutes. So absolutes are things like always, never, kind of all or nothing. So what that often looks like for us as business owners is statements like, I never complete anything. I always fail at marketing. Nobody ever responds to social media posts. So you're hearing words like always, never, stuff like that, right? And so it may not seem like it's a very big deal. The problem is it reinforces self-doubt or a particular belief system. So that belief system being something that is very limited. If I think I always fail at marketing, then what happens when I approach marketing, right? So think about this from your own perspective. If you're under the impression that nobody ever responds to your social media posts because you don't see those likes or those comments or whatever it is, how are you feeling when you get ready to post something on social media? Chances are discouraged, disheartened, why bother kind of perspective, right? And so going back to looking at this sentence, we'll use that one for example. This feels like a good path to continue down. So if you look at, I always fail at marketing, or people never respond to my social media posts, then there's a limited idea there that it's not benefiting you, that you're not getting anything out of it. And my question to you would be, is this true? Right? I'm not going to dive too deep into this specific because it's just one example and there's zillions of examples, right? Anytime we use words like always or never or things like that to perpetuate a belief that's keeping us from moving forward, it's hurting us. We're reinforcing, again, that self-doubt. And so strong, loving suggestion here is to transition. Stop using these absolutes. Transition to more flexible language. So instead of, I never have enough time, you can switch that thought to, I will make time for what matters. Or something like, I never complete anything. I complete those things that are most important to me. It might even be just a small step in that direction. Again, if you've been with me for a little while, you've heard me talk about reframes. And so on this similar note, it's not about jumping to the exact polar opposite thing that we're currently thinking. It's about taking a step towards the more empowering thing. So instead of, I never have time, I will make time for what matters. That's a small step. It's not, I have the same 24 hours everybody has. I'm capable of leaps and bounds, right? We don't need to do that. It's about taking the small step towards the direction of the thing that is more empowering, that continues to propel you forward in your progress, whatever it is that you're striving for. And so stop using absolutes. I know the beauty here is all of these are going to be simple in application, but profoundly impactful in how you start to retrain your brain towards a growth mindset, leaning into the more empowering things, those things that drive you forward, those things that build your self-esteem and they build your confidence. Everything we're talking about, all of these mindset shifts, all of these shifts in habit, they're all things that bring you closer to growth mindsets and striving for successes in a way that feel attainable and feasible. Okay, so number 1, stop using absolutes. Number 2, take small, consistent action. So success isn't about giant leaps and bounds. There's a little bit of a trend here, if you notice. So it's about these little things, right? Small, consistent steps towards progress over time are those things that build the big picture. But when you start looking at this huge picture, it can become very overwhelming. So when we start looking at those little steps, we recognize the progress that we're making along the way instead of big picture, haven't completed it yet. Big picture, haven't completed it yet. Day after day, looking at the big picture, recognize, haven't gotten there yet, haven't completed it yet, right? Very disheartening. At some point, you go back to the why am I doing it? We're on the really tough days. It's hard to talk yourself into doing it. So when you focus more on the small, consistent things, you recognize on repeat that there is progress being made. And when you take time to recognize, acknowledge that progress, even celebrate that progress. That is the kind of thing that is going to propel you into taking the next step. You complete something, there's a burst, kind of like a little hormone that you get that feels good, that makes you want to keep doing it. You've done something that feels great and you kind of want to continue doing that and striving for it. So it's about recognizing every time you take these small steps. First, taking the small steps, but recognizing, acknowledging that you're doing that. And so what we need to do here is get rid of that all or nothing mentality. It's not about going all the way in, got to do it fully for it to make a difference. So let's say, for example, I'm having a particularly tough day. Let's make this about you. You're having a particularly tough day. You are struggling to get into your desk, into your groove and wanting to do the thing. And maybe you spend a little extra time sipping your coffee. Maybe an hour has passed and you just still haven't dove into work. Instead of going, this day is a wash, I'm not going to get anything accomplished today, what if you do still go ahead and even if you've wasted 2 hours, and there's a reframe for that just in case you're wondering, but even if you have not used the first couple hours of your workday, what if instead of letting it be a complete wash for that day, you make the decision to go do at least one thing? Now, chances are, if you sit down and do that one thing and you accomplish it, you're going to get into your groove. But instead of saying, oh, I didn't do it all, or, oh, I fell off the wagon today, going, I can still do something today. So all or nothing mentality goes out the window. Alrighty, so the mindset shift here is progress over perfection. I know you've probably heard that a million times, but doing all the things and making sure everything is accomplished, that is a level of perfection that may not work every single day. But if you can make a little bit of progress that day and acknowledge that you've made that progress, then you are still striving forward. You are still making these changes and there's forward momentum in your business and in your life. So that second habit again was take small, consistent action. Okay. So the third habit that I want to share with you today is stop trying to feel ready before you take the action. So this can apply to so many areas in life, but look at it through the lens of your business. So a lot of times we get really wrapped around the idea of building confidence before taking that step. The issue here is that we don't get confident enough to take the step. Taking the step is what builds the confidence. So I want to talk about a phrase here that I feel gets thrown around a lot, and that's do it scared. And the reason I'm addressing that, it's not bad advice, okay? If the thing that you trigger in your mind and it makes you do the thing is do it scared, because you're like, oh, I can do, even though I'm scared, I can do this. It's not bad advice. I just want to recommend that you don't get in the habit of allowing fear to propel you forward. And here's why. Doing it scared brings a level of stress. And if we consistently lean into that stress to propel us, you are inviting stress, which over time is going to impact you negatively. So one moment of stress propelling you, not such a big deal. But if that becomes your go-to, is to do it scared, and then you do it with a level of stress, then there is always a level of stress. And that in and of itself is very negatively impactful. So I want to encourage you to, yes, do the thing before you feel prepared. But do it knowing, not scared, but knowing knowing in your soul that you are going to be okay on the other side of that. There's going to be a little bit of fear going into that. But if you look at that fear and go, this is not life-threatening, I'm going to be okay on the other side of this. I am going to come out feeling more confident when I have knocked out this thing that I have been weary or afraid of getting into. All right. So yes, absolutely. Do not wait until you feel ready to take action. Also, don't think that you have to do it scared. You're going to build that confidence. So lean into the knowledge that on the other side, no matter how this thing comes out, no matter how imperfectly you do it going in the first and second and third, and maybe even 100 times, that it's okay that it's imperfect. On the other side of it, you're growing and you are safe and you are going to be well. So take messy action, and along the way, you're building that confidence. So that was your tip 3. All right, now tip 4 is Make discomfort your new normal. So I've done an entire YouTube video about getting out of your comfort zone. So I'll link that in the comments. But the thing is that's really important to keep in mind and to acknowledge is that stepping out of your comfort zone is where you're going to experience growth. Nothing exciting happens in the comfort zone. Yes, we need to have periods of rest where we just exist where we are and we appreciate that space. But when we're striving for something, the fact of the matter is you are going to get uncomfortable. It is completely normal. Avoiding discomfort keeps you stuck right where you are. So being afraid of going to a new networking event or getting on video for the first or second time or anything like that, there's going to be a fear factor there. It's completely normal. Get comfortable being a little uncomfortable in that space. And I promise you, the more you do get comfortable with that discomfort, the more courage you are going to feel going into those new things. So instead of shying away or talking yourself out of it, you'll recognize how many times you've come through the scary thing, the thing that felt awkward to begin with, and then you realized it wasn't as bad as your mind wanted you to believe that it was going to be. You build that confidence and you build that courage. So train yourself to see discomfort as a sign that you are growing, that you are leveling up. Now, habit number 5 is audit your self-talk like it's somebody else's voice. So what do we mean by that? I've done about 1 million of these. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but I have entire playlists dedicated to the inner critic and negative self-talk. So I'd also encourage you to go check these out after this, those out after this video. But what I mean by that is we all have this negative voice in our head. It exists for all of us. It's not a bad thing that it exists. But the thing is, most of us just accept that it's normal, it's part of our experience, and there's not a whole lot to be done about it. And that's not true. There's so much that we can do about that negative inner voice. Also, there's this idea that I'm noticing that people believe that it's not very harmful because it's our own voice. So if I say something bad about myself, but really at the core, I like me, I love me, I don't feel bad about me as a person and who I am. So it's really harmless if I say something bad about myself. That's not true. It's incredibly harmful. It beats down your self-esteem and then that ability to build your confidence and all of those things that are associated with it. And so when we perpetuate the negative self-talk, it is very impactful in not the best way. And so there's a way that I would encourage you to look at that going forward. And it's simple, is if there was something in your mind that you have said about yourself that feels negative, there's a couple ways to approach this. So you have to decide what feels most impactful to you. Would you say that to somebody else? Or would you let somebody else say that to you? Or the one that I found to be most impactful, especially for moms, is would you tolerate somebody saying that to your kid? If the answer to any of those is no, then it's not okay to say it to yourself. Hit the like button if this is resonating with you. Okay, so what do we do here in this instance? So we recognize that there's self-talk. It's not, that we aren't ever going to have it again, but there is an opportunity to shift it. So what does that look like? So when you start paying attention to the thoughts that you have on repeat, start noticing, are these helpful or are they hurting you? So if they are not empowering, it's an opportunity to shift. So a reframe is what I'm referring to. So again, that's looking at the thought in a different perspective. What is a more empowering? So an example here is, I'm so bad at marketing. You can shift that to, I'm learning to improve my marketing, or I'm learning to improve my marketing every day. Something like that. So you don't jump to, I'm badass at marketing and it's my zone of genius, right? You don't leap to that end, but something that is more empowering. I'm learning. That's more empowering. So always offering yourself that opportunity to relook at that thought and offer a more empowering second thought. Alrighty, so the new habit here is just to start to build this habit at the beginning, you're going to need reminders. It's not necessarily going to come natural to reframe at the beginning because you're not used to doing it, and that's okay. So you build in a reminder. You get to decide what that reminder looks like, but as a suggestion, maybe it's something like just a daily checkpoint where maybe you set a reminder for yourself on your phone, blah, blah, blah. Couldn't get that out. Set a reminder on your phone that says self-talk checkpoint, or have you offered yourself a reframe, or whatever it is that's going to remind you to look at your self-talk. Alrighty. And if you haven't done it that day, take that moment to do it right then. So those are the 5 habits that I have for you today that if you start to shift these things and implement them on a regular basis, which is what a habit is, of course, doing these things on repeat, these are going, I promise you, these are things that over time, given the repetition, they are going to supercharge you for massive success. So I want to hear your thoughts. What is the most impactful thing that you took away today? Drop it in the comments so I can hear what was the habit that really spoke to you the most. Of course, I'd encourage you to implement all of them, definitely at your own pace, but I'm curious, which one stood out to you the most?